Continuing our discussion on strings, which once again are nothing more than vectors of characters. Let's look at some more operations just to introduce you and to set up the next lecture. So if you had string A or character A equal to character A, that's a logical expression, and that's going to return true. Okay. If I created some variable equals A, and then I said, does that variable equal A? And we have actually seen this before. That's going to give me true as well. As opposed to if I said, well, instead, does that variable equal B? That, of course, is going to be false. Okay? Likewise, I could say, well, does A equal capital A? Well, we know that there's case sensitivity here, so A is not equal to capital A, so that would be false. We could ask the question, does AB equal string AB? Well, that once again would be true. Likewise, ABC is not equal to AB capital C, and that would be false. Okay. If we come over here and look at this same thing on the number side, we could say, well, does 5 equal 5? That would be true. I could assign some variable equal to 5 and then say, does that variable equal 5? And that would be true as well. Then I could ask, well, does that variable equal 6? And that would be false. So this would be true up here. This would be true here. And this would be false here. Then I could come in and say, well, of course, 5, does 5 equal 6? Once again, that's false. So a lot of the same things on both sides. Then I could say, does vector 5, 6 equal vector 5, 6? Not 56, but 5, 6. And that would give me true. And then I could ask, well, does vector 5, 6, 7 equal vector 5, 6, 9? And that would give me false. Okay. Oops, I made a mistake over here. That's not, this is false. ABC equals AB capital C is false. So I'm trying to draw these parallels here between the strings and numbers over here on the right. Well, then you ask the big question, what about greater than, equal to, less than equal to? Can you use those as strings? Could I say, is A less than or greater than capital A? And that is a valid question, but before I ask that question, that's going to lead me into another area. But before I go into that area, I want to extend this example into the operations that we already know. More specifically, you can use strings in the ifs and in the fors and the whiles that we've done, and switch statements. So let's look at that before we go forward with ideas of greater than, equal to, greater than, less than, greater than, equal to, less than, or equal to. So we can use this in an if statement. We've seen this already. If I define variable var equals character A, then I can say if var equals A, then I'm going to say, I don't know, display something, else display nothing. Okay, and then that's simply just doing a test. Does var equal a? And in this case it does, and so therefore we'll display something. Likewise, we can do this in a switch statement. We could say var equals b, and then we could say switch on var. And we've done this before, but I'm just pointing it out that we were using strings and variables. We're using strings in terms of the characters, whatever. So case B display something, otherwise display nothing. And then we end that. Okay. Now this would also work in terms of strings. So if I said var equals apple, and I do my test for apple here, it would work perfectly fine here. And then if I said if b was equal to, I don't know, bat, and I did my test on bat, that would work perfectly fine. Now there are some caveats here, so let's be careful as we move forward, but in general this is the general idea, and this will work. And we'll come back to those caveats later on in our discussion on strings. Also, this works in the for loop. Now this is very important when you talk about the for loop. Let's say if I had some variable defined, well, let's not even define a variable, let's just do it this way. If I said for x equals the vector 5, 6, 7, and 8, and I did some loop and I said display x, and then end, well, what would happen? Well, in the command window, you would get 5, 6, 7, and 8 because you'd be displaying each time through the loop, right? Well, it is no different than if I said for x equals TECH and then do display x and then end. I'm going to get in the command window TECH. Now, it may not show the quotes, but I'm just doing that here to show that these are characters. So you're actually going to get that. This is a vector. And what does a for loop do? Every time through the loop, it goes down to the next item in the vector. The initial item is the first item in the vector, and then it goes down the loop. You could also do this using the indexing method. Let's just say if the vector equaled TECH, and I said, and this is a different example, if the vector equaled TECH, I would say for x equals 1 to the length of vec, and then I would say display vec indexed at x. Okay, now the first time through x, well, first of all, the length of vec equals 4 because there are 4 characters here, indexed 1, 2, 3, and 4. The first time through x equals 1, so I index vec at 1 and display that, and so I'm going to get t. The next time through, x now moves to 2 because this vector here is the vector 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So next time through x equals 2, I get vec indexed at 2, which is the e. Next time through it's 3, I get the c. And next time through it's 4, and I get the h. So these two blocks of code will do the same thing. Okay, so it works there. Also works if I were to do a while statement. I would set my while statement up with vec equals tech, TECH, and then I would do x equals 1, initialize, while x is less than or equal to the length of vec, which is my inspection stage, and then I would say display vec of x, and then I would have to do my incrementer here, x equals x plus 1, and then I end. And this will do the same thing as the for loops above it. X gets exponentialized to 1, while x is less than or equal to the length of vector, which the length of vector is 4, and each time through I will index at increasingly incrementing values, which are incremented down here, and so I would get vec indexed at 1, vec indexed at 2, vec indexed at 3, vec indexed at 4, and so you'll get the same output as you get with the other ones. So wanted to show you this to show you that you can use strings in your for loops, your while loops, in your ifs and your switches, just like you use them, just like you use numbers. And we'll start off with that notion, and then we'll whittle it down and fine-tune it as we go forward. But next up, I'd like to go back to the topic, is what do you do with the greater than, equal tos, less than equal tos when you're comparing strings. And that's going to take us into a little bit different space, but we'll check that out in the next video.